Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team. Man, really appreciate you sharing that, your story, your journey to get to where you are. And it's really cool to see the path and how you always wanted to be here, how your family's there. And one thing that jumped out at me, and I wrote this down, is that early on, you didn't care about what you're asked to do. You're willing to do anything. Yep. And I think it's a great attribute to have for our players. And really, I don't care what level you get to, but if you can hold on to that mentality of I'm not too big or I'm not too important to do any job that's necessary, where I work within our program, I would imagine that mentality you had to write those letters, to get on somewhere, and for years to really, like you said, you're a glorified manager. That's what you felt like. But to have the mentality of I don't care, I'll do it with excellence and the best. I would imagine that's kind of created, the person that you are today.
Well, there's no doubt. When I took that Oklahoma City job, and I told you October 15th. I mean, the date is crazy in itself, and I don't advise anybody to take it. But when I got hired, there was 2 part-time assistants there, and because I got there late, they got retained, but they were truly part-time assistants. They both had jobs. They were really only there for practice. And so I remember we're about halfway through the season and it's after practice. And I always, after practice, I always hang around and I'm in the locker room. And, to me, again, it's about relationships. So, I'm in there cutting up with the players and everything else. But I remember I'm pushing the laundry cart, into the laundry room to do the laundry because we didn't have managers, and I didn't have any assistants. There were 2 part-time guys and they had to take off to go to work. And so, I did the laundry every day. And so we're about halfway through the season that year. And, I'm a head coach. I'm a 30-year head coach or 30-year-old head coach. And I pushed the laundry into the laundry room and they walked by and they stopped and they said, "Coach, you're doing the laundry?" And I just laughed and I said, "Well, how do you think it's been getting done? Who do you think's been doing it?" And
Magic.
So, I didn't care. To me, I thought it was so awesome that I was a college head coach, and so I didn't care what I had to do. I knew I was going to do anything in my power to be successful. And to me, if that means doing the laundry, then I'm going to do the laundry. I didn't care at that stage. It was, hey, what can I do to help my team be successful? What can I do to help my players be successful? And, if part of that's doing the laundry, then great, I'm going to do the laundry. I didn't care because to me, I'm going to do anything in my power. And I've just always been like that since I started in this business and to this day. And I want people that understand that is, you should be willing to do whatever to help a team. We tell our players that all the time. So why wouldn't we do the same as coaches then? Why wouldn't we be willing to sweep the floor when it needs to be swept and, wipe sweat spots off the floor when it needs to be wiped up? Why wouldn't we be willing to do the same things if we're asking so much of our players?
I love that appreciation that you have for coaching. I feel that way too. Being at a small private school in Dallas, Fort Worth, I just love the fact that I get to go out to second period athletics. We only get 43 minutes a day, which I'm actually very thankful for that. There's a lot of places that don't have an athletic period, so having that attitude of gratitude for what you have, understanding that somewhere, some other place, someone else has it worse, right? Or they wish they had what we had. But I get that same feeling when I go out to second period athletics with these guys is I just can't believe I get to do this. I don't think it matters the level that you're at or the type of players, whether they're college or high school players like mine, that none of them really, most of them don't have aspirations to play. I think that's the goal, is for us not to lose that love and appreciation for what we do.
I tell our guys and, my staff, this is, I think I'm at the best place there is. I mean, there's not another school like, to me, you know, and when I was at Northwestern, I treated Northwestern like it's Duke. You know, when I was at Oklahoma City, I treated Oklahoma City like it was Duke. And to me, you know, when I walk up to our gym every day, I'm just in amazement of this place that one, I made it here. You know, that's the one thing. But two, just how great a place this is.
Yeah.
And you know, I've told my staff, if I ever lose that feeling when I'm walking up to our arena every day, then I don't want to do this anymore. But because that's what it's been for me is, you know, when I walk into the arena that I'm working at, or the gym that I'm working at, or whatever, it's, you know, I'm proud to be at the place that I'm at. And I think, you know, I tell guys this all the time, you got to be where you're at. And we tell our people, you know, our players, our staff, we want to pour into the university. You know, I want to do everything we can. And so for me, the fact that, you know, it's still like a shiny new toy for me walking into our gym every day, you know, because that's how it was. And you could probably remember when you first got that job, how fired up you are. And I want to hold on to that feeling, because I think that's the feeling that makes you work that hard is, you know, you worked that hard to get to where you're at. Well, why are you going to stop now? Why are you going to stop that work now? Shouldn't you work even harder now that you got what you've actually been wanting to get for so long? And you know, that's what I want from our players as well. Is, you know, you've worked however long, you know, since you were a kid to get an opportunity to play college basketball.
Yeah.
So now, why would all of a sudden you not work as hard? Why would you not spend the time in the gym getting shots up? Why would you not work as hard as you can in the weight room when it's time to put into the weight room? You know, why would you shortcut yourself now all of a sudden when you've put in years of work to get to where you're at? You know, because not very many kids at our level, a lot of times are they getting here just because of talent. There had to be some work ethic there to get to where they're at right now. And for me, you know, those are things I try to help remind our guys is to, you know, we want our guys in the gym, put in the work, you know, and put in, you know, and you've heard so many cliches, and you know, I've listened to your podcast, and I hear really sharp coaches and smart coaches, and you know, they quote all these people and coaches, and I'm just not one of those guys. I don't have a bunch of neat coaches, you know. I don't have a hashtag or anything like that. You know, I'm not that person. You know, for me, we tell our guys, like, there's two things that's important to me, and they were the same things that were important to Rick Cooper when I was working for him all those years ago at West Texas A&M, and it was, you're going to play hard, and you're going to play hard while you're tired. And if we can figure out how to do those two things, and I always tell them, hey, that second thing, it's going to take you some time to figure that out. If we can figure those things out as players, then I'll get out of you what I need to get out of you as a player. You know, there's so much more that goes into it, you know, and I know we're going to talk about some other things too here in a bit as well. But, you know, to me, you got to have that drive and that work ethic, you know, and we ask that in recruiting. Like, I'll ask coaches when we're getting guys, and I don't care if they're portal guys, high school guys, junior college guys, like, you know, how much are they in the gym? You know, do they get shots up? You know, are you having to drag them to the gym? Because if I got to motivate them to do those things, then I'm probably not the right coach, you know, for those kids, because I need guys that are going to be in the gym. I want to hear the ball bouncing, you know, in the gym, knowing people are getting work up, knowing people want to do their part to help our team succeed. Because I know I'm going to do my part as a coach.
I think you're a great example of the fact that you don't have to have a great or a long player's resume to be a great coach and to move up and to get to higher levels. Because I think that's what a lot of people think is, for you to become a great coach, you need to have this playing career to think back on all his experiences. But I think there's a misconception there that great players or people that have played are instantly great coaches. I think you see it all the time where maybe there's even more of a disconnect between guys that have played, you know, at high levels, almost like they don't understand or they can't even put themselves in their players' shoes. They don't have that understanding, I guess. But I love the fact that you really do show that if you love the game and you're willing to work hard, man, you can make this happen. I would imagine, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit with the kind of guys you look for and what the questions you ask with recruiting, but that your story, your journey really affects the culture of your program. And so, in your opinion, how does culture drive performance? But also, I'd love for you to go into a little bit of what yours is like.
You know, culture, and you hear so many people say it's such a buzzword, and I don't really use the word culture in our
Yeah.
locker room. And I think you got to have a standard, and I think you got to have expectations, and then I think you got to hold kids accountable to that. But the question I always want answered and want known is when someone watches my team play, what do they think of that team?
Hmm.
What do they see? Because that's to me really what culture is. And before I keep diving into that, and I'm going to tell you just over the years how I've formulated some thoughts and stuff with just various experiences. But I remember when I was an assistant, we were on the road in Colorado playing a D2 school, and we had a brand new team. We had a bunch of new guys that year, and it's it's the opening weekend classic that we're in, and we have a kid take a charge, big play, fast break. He takes a charge, slides into the backstop. As he took the charge, official actually made the correct call, which was good. Because we don't see that all the time. But on the film, when we went back and we were watching the tape, he takes the charge, and our four players are walking away from him, and three players from the other team help him up, help our own player up. And I just remember being so frustrated watching that, because in my head, and when I showed it to our head coach, he felt the same way. Is what kind of team are we right now that our own players aren't even one. They're not celebrating success, because that
Hmm.
was a charge is a big time play in college basketball, and I mean I don't care what level it is, a
Yeah.
charge is a big time play. But two, we don't have players running over there and picking their own teammate up. And so, when someone sees our team play, that's, what are they seeing? And on that day, they didn't see probably what we had envisioned as a staff, our team to be. So what was our culture that day? And I don't know the answer to that. And so, but we knew we had to fix it at that stage. We knew we had something to fix. And so, now that I've gotten older, and I use that as an example now, is that's what it makes me think, what do I want people to see when they see our team play? And to me, it starts with a culture of toughness. I want people to think our teams are tough. And, they're only going to see the things on the court right now. But if they're tough on the floor, I want them to be tough minded people, because adversity is going to hit even in life. And so are they going to be tough in life as well? And so, we talk about toughness. And so I'll use the word, because since you used it, I'll use it as we want a culture of toughness to start. I want tough
Coach,
people.
first of all, I'm going to cut you off right there. I don't really enjoy the word culture either. And there's a legendary coach from Coach Fitch. He was at Birdville High School for 30 years, retired. And I asked him the question. He's like, 15, 20 years ago, we didn't even use that word, but it's always been there. Like it's always been around. And so I also would rather say standards, pillars, the way that we show up every day. So, Coach, I don't want you to be throwing that word at me like I'm the one who loves that word.
I was just answering the question. But, so to me, it starts with a culture of toughness.
Yeah.
And I want my team to be the toughest team on the floor, physically and mentally. Like I want us to be tough, and we define that. I think you have to be able to define it. You have to hold kids accountable to that. Today's our first day of class here today. And, we met last night in the locker room, then we had a quick meeting again today. And, I'm talking and trying to get them ready, because we can't start until the fourth class day. And, when we start, I'm trying to get our returners, because this is my second year here now,
Yeah.
to help teach our new guys. And, last year, because everybody's new, my staff is new, my players are new, so I'm having to teach everything. So now I'm going, holy cow, I got, 10 assistant coaches now, because I got returners that can help teach it. But, to me, I don't allow guys to grab their knees in practice, because to me, it shows a sign of weakness. And, someone being tired. And to me, it's mental, like it's mental toughness, just not grabbing your knees. And so if a guy grabs their knees in practice, then we'll just get on the line, because I'll say, well, we must not be in good enough shape, at that stage. And so early, our returners will help police our new guys, for that. But that just, to me, I think you got to have small things like that can help define it as well, besides just things that you talk about as well. I want a culture of unselfishness. We like moving the ball. I want to share the basketball. Okay, well, that's unselfishness. All right, well, if you help your teammate up when he's on the ground, that's being unselfish. We were fourth in the country last year in community service. That's unselfish, so when you're talking about culture, I think it's not just the basketball piece of it. It's the everything that encompasses a program, and so we talk about being unselfish. We are talking about giving back to our community, because I always tell them, hey, we're going to give back to a community that gives to us. And the challenge at Angelo State, when I got here, and it's something Coach Boone told me, and something Chris Beard told me the day he called me to congratulate me, because he coached here as well, is attendance. They all talked about attendance. They're like, look, it's going to be hard, and it's never been just great, and da da da. And so I convinced our guys last year, hey, if we give back to the community, if we're unselfish, if we give back, and we're in the community and doing, they'll come support you. And I didn't know if they would or wouldn't, but I'm just trying to create the culture then of being unselfish, of giving back. Well, we led the conference in attendance last year, and I don't know. I don't know if it was the first time ever or first time in a long time, but we led the league in attendance. And I truly felt that because our guys gave back to the community gave back to us. And so that was a way we could teach unselfishness besides just passing the basketball, because I want to be unselfish. I want to make the extra pass when it's time to make the extra pass. I want to make the right basketball play when it's time to make the right basketball play. If you don't, you're going to hear about it, and we're going to correct it, because that goes back to accountability when you're creating that culture. And I don't think you can ever let up on that stuff, and that's the hard part when you are creating a quote unquote culture, is the accountability part. I think there's a lot of good coaches out there, and coaches that, hey, they listen to a bunch of podcasts, they watch a bunch of tape, they go to clinics, and they're really basketball sharp, but maybe they're not as successful coaching wise. They may know their stuff, but they're not getting the success. And to me, are they holding their kids accountable? They know it, but are they making them do it? And I think accountability goes into that so much. And so for us, we have so many things, and I'm giving you examples of, grabbing your knees or doing community service, and or making the extra pass. And those are things we make our guys do. We're going to make you make the extra pass. We're going to make you, right now, if a kid falls on the ground in our program, like we had our guys, we're very fortunate. And this is part of us being a really good Division II, is we were able to have our whole team here for summer too. And so when the guys were playing pickup this summer, and this was the returners. This doesn't have to do with me anymore. Is when someone fell on the ground in pickup, the whole team goes and picks them up, and if they're not on the court, they still go and get a touch. And that's something that we started a year ago, but now it's carried on. So I can say, hey, that's part of our culture now, because it's carried into it. And to me, that's something that's unselfish. We don't allow our guys to challenge our guys negatively or speak to them negatively on the floor.
Yeah.
So we always say, I'm going to be that person. And so we don't allow them to say things, ridiculous things to each other. I always tell them, like, hey, if your teammate turns it over, you're going to run over, you're going to pat them on the rear, and you're going to say, hey, let's get it back. And if they miss you, on a pass, there's a right and wrong way to say that. So, we're always trying to help kind of that stuff as well, because I think, to me, when you're talking about being unselfish, the hard thing is putting self aside. And so I may be mad about that turnover that you just had, but if I run over there and pat you on the rear and say, hey, let's get it back, then it goes back to team again. And that helps that kid understand, okay, I don't need to focus on the bad play. And then it also helps a kid shake it too, like a kid that just turned it over, or a kid that maybe airballed a shot or whatever it might be, or made a really bad play. Just hearing his teammates say, hey, you're okay, goes a long ways. And I think those are selfish acts. And so, those are kind of things that we do. And it's one of the things I said, when I took this job and I interviewed for this job, and then I did the press conference, and I heard Coach Wells, that's the former football coach at Texas Tech, and I'm a Texas Tech grad, so I'm a huge Tech football fan. Oh, you're from Baylor, so sorry. We stole your coordinator.
It's okay. It's okay.
I don't know if you follow him or not. Unbelievable. I love him. But anyways, Matt Wells said, hey, we're going to love our guys hard. And that's what we do in our program. And to me, that's also the accountability part. I mean, we coach our guys hard. We push them. We challenge them. But we have a relationship with them. Our guys know, hey, we're going to love on them. and we're going to take care of them. We're going to be in the locker room cutting up with them after a hard practice. And I try to get guys to understand, hey, when practice is over, man, it's over. I'm done too, and I don't carry it with me, and I try not to carry it with me. I try to just leave it in practice.
Yeah.
Because it's more time to fix stuff, and so when we're talking culture, I can't go around and be mad at a kid all day if I'm talking about being unselfish to them. I got to be able to put self aside, because now I got to go back to being a leader. I got to go back to being a coach, being someone that loves them, being someone that helps them in that. So I think a lot of it goes back on us too. Is like, if you want that culture to be a certain way, then you and your staff have to be that certain way. You can't say you want certain things in that locker room, but then you're doing something differently as a coach. And I think you see that from time to time with certain coaches. And
Yeah.
it's, if I wanted to be really good at defense, I can't just say, hey, Matt, we're going to be really good in defense, and then never work on it and just do shooting drills all day. It's just not going to. What are we doing to work on it?
Yeah.
What are we doing? And so that's where, to me, when you set standards, when you have expectations, but then you hold them accountable, I think those are things that help build culture, and then that culture bleeds on the floor. And so when you watch our team on game night, if you see a guy hit the floor, you're seeing 4 guys sprint over and pick him up on game night. You're seeing, if someone makes a big play, the bench and everybody else is celebrating success. And part of the question of how do you create that? What do you do to create that? That's probably the part B of this question.
Sure.
That you hadn't. And when I was at Northwestern, I told you we took over an 8-win team, but I mean, the previous coach had won 20 games the year before. So in my mind, I said, hey, it can be done. Somebody's done it here before. And so, now you're taking over an 8-win team, and then we win 10. And we had to keep that team, and we brought in a few players, and we go from 8 to 10, which was the lowest I'd ever won. So that was hard for me too. But okay, now how do you create that culture that you're trying to create? What do you do? These kids haven't won. And so when we built that team to win 20 games my last year, and we had to recruit all those players, okay, we recruited guys from winning programs, because I think teaching how to win is very difficult sometimes to kids, as opposed to getting kids from winning programs that have already been taught those things. We got that. But then when we were in our preseason, you're going to laugh at this. That year, every Friday in our preseason, we celebrated success. We went in the locker room like we had won, and we started saying we're going to win the week, and then we're going to celebrate that on Friday. So Friday in the preseason, we put the music on, and we celebrated like we had just won a game on Friday. And I was trying to get them to understand the feeling and how it felt, to find success, and what it was like to be a good team, and what it was like to be rewarded for the hard work that you put in for that week of preseason. Because it may have been a really hard week in the preseason, but okay, let's go celebrate it now. You made it, let's celebrate it. And, and I think that we talk about that all the time. I think you hear a lot of coaches say celebrate success, and they talk about it. But again, I'm one of those, well, let's figure out how we can get some
let's practice it. Yeah.
Do it. So we did that there. And, so I wasn't shocked when we won 20 games that year, because I thought we did the things to do it.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.